patients, just the sheer number of people that, that transcend culture, religion, beliefs, all kinds, they all see the same thing and in the same areas and same time. And so, the non-believers will say, well, of course, they're going to say they see the same thing because they're all human and it's all chemically related. And I go, yeah, but why is the blind person seeing? Why is the deaf person hearing? Why is the patient with Alzheimer's who could never speak for 5 years all of a sudden speaking and telling you that they knew, they could understand everything you were saying and the way they were being treated? And they're doing that right before they're dying. How do you explain that? So there's some healing, there's an incredible healing going on at the end of life. And I tell you what, a lot of the researchers that are really honing in on this, what they're really being drawn by isn't so much the spiritual. It's saying, hey, wow, they're being healed at the end. The Alzheimer patient can talk. The deaf patient can hear. The blind patient can see. If we can find out the source of that in the brain, we'll make a bunch of money. That's what's happening. And if that's the way it needs to be, so be it. But they're going to find out that it's, there is a God, there's a creator. And that's really, that to me, I'm just glad that they're finally noticing.
I've seen so many things that are baffling myself as, people who, are wheelchair bound and staring into blankness for years. And the way that I work is I treat everybody like you're having a conversation with me. And so I'm talking about the weather, I'm talking about this, I'm talking about that, going about doing my job. And, there's this one specific lady I had, and she never spoke, never, ever, ever. And one day I said, we are just having the worst blizzard out here. I mean, I'm just going to take you over here so you can see this, and I'm going off about the blizzard. And just like she was a normal person again, for 2 seconds, she said, it is awful out there. And I was just like, oh my God, she just responded to me. She did that one other time with me when she was, in her chair, and she was, couldn't move, couldn't nothing, but I was, always one of those people, people in the medical field get so attached to doing like the medical part of it, they forget they're human beings. And, like I would make sure that, she can't ask for a drink of water, obviously. I would go over there, and one day she turned to me and just snapped out of that blank stare that she always had on her face and said, I really appreciate that you care for me so much, and bam, she was gone again.
Isn't that awesome? See, you're basically telling me something that's happening everywhere. And I tell you what, they are listening. The government, the doctors that work for government and that do all these cloning experiments, they know about this. And but it's not like what you and I are looking at from the side that we're looking at it. We're looking from the spiritual, the incredible, the union of all beings being one. They're looking at it from, hey, how can we make technology,
a bunch of money with this? Yeah, how can we make money?
How can we make money? How can we control people from it? No, really, and cloning. I did a cloning experiment, when I was in college, and I got 3rd place in the nation, and it was incredible where it was going to be. And sure enough, they're cloning now. They can clone a bladder now, full bladder now, from a petri dish to a full bladder, your own bladder from your own cells. They can clone a kidney, and they're about to clone a heart. And that's where we are in terms of what we know. What is it that we don't know that research is happening? And being part of that and being part of a cancer institute, I've known some doctors that have stated that they have found cures or a cure to some cancer, and not long after that, it's bought by a certain company, and they secure it. And it's not out there. And these are friends of mine, so I know there's a lot out there, but they can't stop. They can't stop the knowledge. They can't stop the truth from coming, and it's going to happen. Mm-hmm.
I think that they've just gotten so far, to the point where they just can't disprove it anymore. They've got to go towards proving that it actually exists and it actually happens. I'll tell you about a little experience I had. I go to conferences a lot and I speak, and I'm at one right now. Last weekend or the weekend before, I was in Ogden, Utah, and I saw somebody who claimed to have a phone call box to the dead, So me and my friend went in there basically getting ready to go, this guy is, he's full of it. He's just trying to make money. I mean, we couldn't fathom. And even myself being a spiritual medium, like I consider myself a person able to read energy and talk to dead and the things like that. Went in there waiting to basically laugh at this box. This guy said you can have a speaker and hear your loved one's voice. And I swear to God, Dr. Lerma, when I got home from that experience, I sat for probably 2 days and just thought. I called about 3 of my closest friends, and I was I can't say the word on air.
I hear you.
I had heard.
I think everybody knows.
I heard my uncle's voice that I hadn't heard in 15 years. I had a real-time conversation with somebody who you can't. That's the thing. You can't imitate voice. You can't imitate personality. You can't. The way that I'm talking to you and who that I am. When I pick up the phone and I call my friend Nick over there or Justin, they know it's me. Because they hear my voice, they know the way that I talk, they hear the tone, the fluctuation. You can't mimic those things. So I still don't understand how this guy was able to pull my uncle's voice through a box he's never met and didn't even know about. You know what I mean? It's just, you can't explain it. Yeah. How does that work? I don't know how I can see dead people. I don't know how I can talk to them. I know it happens.
Yeah.
And
I've heard about that, and Dr. Raymond Moody is doing something to that effect. He has a book out now too. He was the original. He was the doctor that originally I think coined the term near-death experience. And anyhow, he's doing something like that. But I will tell you, a few of the doctors have said, what if this consciousness, when they're outside of the body, that we've proven, and they're aware, and these people are saying, yeah, we're outside the body, we're basically the same character, we can see, we can hear, even talk in their way, I guess. We started saying, how can we connect to that spirit? And one patient said that, and and I started researching that, and I've heard about these boxes, and you know what? It works. I'm sure it's possible. Theoretically, it's possible.
It has
and
to.
It should be done.
If what I do as a spiritual medium is basically I read energy. I read dead people's energy. I read people's energy around me. So how can you not bring that energy into some sort of piece of technology so that they can manipulate that energy into talking to me? I mean, it's hard to believe. Even myself, who has seen ghosts with my naked eye and talked to the dead myself, there were 10 people in the room when that happened, and every single person left crying, and every single person was in awe and shocked.
Right.
I couldn't believe it.
And what I can tell, people listening, I said, as a scientist, it is theoretically possible, and like Einstein said, in theory, if it works, it is happening somewhere, or it will happen somewhere. Well, and so, I believe it's happening, and I've heard about these things.
I absolutely do believe it's happening, but have you even stopped for a second to think, this is what had me so freaked out for 3 days, where I just sat and pondered it to myself. I was very quiet, and I'm not a quiet person. And how would that change the way that our belief system as a society works? Totally. What if I could walk up to somebody and let them talk to their dead grandmother and resolve issues that could help people? But what if it brings bad things? It's got to bring bad things too. So where do we draw the line? When are we crossing that threshold of things that we just shouldn't dabble in?
Yeah. Well, you're right, and it's always there, and I think it's the same. If you go back to just life in general, what is it that we're doing here? We're learning. We're learning to determine when not to cross, what not to cross. And through self-preservation, through procreation, what is the most important thing? And really, the most important thing is improving ourselves. And if that's going to improve ourselves in a positive, it tells you intuitive. My patients that are dying, Dr. Lerma, we're going to move from the brain to the stomach in terms of the solar plexus, in terms of understanding things, listening, hearing. That's where we're moving towards evolutionary-wise, because the mind is making too many mistakes. It makes too many mistakes. We've got to go intuitively by everything, and I believe that that's, as long as intuitively, what I'm trying to get at, it tells you, hey, let's go here, go for it. We can't stop. Bottom line, we can't stop technology. We can't stop people from wanting to know. And you know what? That's great, because in the end, it's left to each individual person to determine. But it doesn't matter. It's like in the beginning of the universe, positive will always win out. There was 1.0000001 positive particle, extra particle, versus the antimatter particle that created all matter. Had it not been for that one little positive extra piece of weight, none of us would be here.
Right.
And so what that tells me is, you extrapolate from there, positive, however you want to look at it, there's something that's always weighing, that's tipping the scale towards always winning, to being a victor versus a victim. And we're gonna be there. But it's good to worry about this thing. It's good to ask those questions. But it's gonna win out. Positive will always win out.
Well, but you know what? Then what do you think about this whole 2012 thing? A lot of people are saying it's just, we're going to have a shift in consciousness and our awareness, and be able to revert back to the way that we used to be, where, you know, we have conversations all the time, like, why do I even have a job? You know, people should be taking care of their loved ones who are dying at home. And medical science also POs me, because it pushes people to the basic point where you're just breaking down. You're not supposed to be existing anymore. So a lot of times we're torturing people and not giving them any quality of life, really.
I just had a conversation with a hospice nurse who was fired for wanting to let a patient who was in the hospital go home and die at home. That was their wish. But because it was inconvenient for a lot of people, they didn't. And the patient ended up dying home. Can you believe that? And
that's the circle of life, John. We are born to our parents. When our parents get older, they start dying. We take care of them. Our kids take care of us. It's the circle of life. It's how things are supposed to be.
Yeah. You know what it is? These people are very, very fearful. And they're fearful that there's nothing else out there. And that's why people like yourself, books like what I'm writing, that's our passion. And that's what my patients are saying. This is, Dr. Lerma, stick to your passion, and that's where the miracles occur. If you are choosing to go against your passion, your life will be out of balance, totally out of balance. You've got to search within your heart, and how do you find that passion? Because you got to know who you are. But if you're in an abusive family, an abusive environment, you're never going to have, you don't have time alone. You're never going to find out who you are, or why you're here. What is it that you're passionate? And I'm glad that I found my passion. I'm glad you found your passion, because it's the path of least resistance. It's a science principle that we totally believe in. Life will always choose the path of least resistance.
Isn't it sad how many people are going to go through their life and not understand the spiritual growth that we're supposed to understand? Like, if there's, I'm not even sure about the whole reincarnation, if your soul comes back, if that is the case, I know a lot of people who are coming back to learn a lot more lessons. You know what I mean? Even in my spiritual growth, I'm thinking to myself, God, I'm getting there. I'm understanding the universe. I'm understanding all of these things. It's taken me, a couple years of a lot of spiritual growth to get to the way that I am now. But I was even talking about the other day that I finally understood that if I wanted to be a good person, when I did something bad, at first I thought, "Ooh, you're not supposed to do that, Jamie. That was bad." Now it's, Jamie, go. You hurt somebody, or you said something wrong, and it makes me hurt as a person. That's where I felt like I reached the point. I found my changing point, because now it's personal. I'm feeling it. It's not like I'm trying to live up to what God wants us to be, or this spiritual being, or whatever. I've gotten to where I understand it, and I've become it.
And that's what, look, you asked me about 2012. Look, it's not like something's going to, and most people know this intuitively. It's not like right at December 21st, everything's going to change. It doesn't happen that way. It's already happening. I think 2012 there's a lot more physical things that are going to happen. I mean, we definitely know Michio Kaku, that famous physicist, theoretical physicist, and there's these solar flares. They miscalculated that the solar flares, this huge solar storm and solar flare that was going to occur. I think they it was after 2015 or 2017. But they miscalculated. He came out on Fox TV and said